Instagram Live. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Jabari Advocates. On this special episode titled Real Talk, R-E-E-L, Real Talk, a DP's path to self-discovery, I have the one and only LaDawn Manuel. Before we get started, definitely want folks to join so LaDawn has an audience and she feels seen and folks can receive the information that she has in store for us, because today is going to be a great episode. So I kind of got the vibes right. You know, it's raining outside and I know folks are probably taking it a little easy today. So hopefully we can have a good turnout today and folks can kind of like sip their coffee like I'm doing now and enjoy a great conversation. What's going on, LaDawn? So yes, we're just going to wait for some folks to join before we get started. So story time. So yeah, this week was pretty interesting. I took a trip to New York, had a shoot up in Battery Park, which is I think on the lower east side or west side. I'm not too familiar with New York. What's going on, Blaze? Appreciate you for pulling up. And it was just your typical run-of-the-mill corporate shoot, and I had a good time. I was there less than 24 hours. I drove up on a Tuesday. I got there at 3 p.m. Do y'all hear that? Like my AirPod is like going crazy in my ear. I hope that that's not affecting my voice right now. But if it's not, I guess it's cool. But if so, feel free to let me know, because it's like going crazy. Can y'all hear me good? I had to take this AirPod out. I think I dropped it in some water this week, but I think it's cool. Oh yeah, everything's going good. Blaze, just, another day. I'll bet. Appreciate you. Just another day. Narrative Row. Appreciate you for pulling up. And folks that are watching right now, please stay. Again, let's get to about 6. Okay, cool. Thank you, LaDawn. We want to get to about 6 consistent viewers. Just again, so LaDawn feels seen and we have an audience, because again, today is going to be a great episode. LaDawn Manuel is someone that I admire. LaDawn is based here in the DMV area, but she's from Cleveland, Ohio. So I definitely want to hear a little bit more about that journey, from coming from the Midwest to the DMV and all of those creative endeavors and challenges, and just all of it is a rewarding experience. So again, I just want to make sure we have an audience before we get started. What's going on, Robert? Appreciate you for tuning in. Again, today's episode is called Real Talk, a DP's path to self-discovery through film work. And I'm so excited. I'm super excited to hear from LaDawn and hearing all the great work that she's done. If you all had a chance to see some of the promo that I've been posting on my other page, Masscom Guru Pro, you all can see the beautiful work that LaDawn has done as a DP. She captures black essence, in a way that's unmatched. She's also done some work overseas. If you all again had a chance to check some of that out, her IMDb credits go crazy. Like, we'll talk. I'll save it for the conversation. Again, if you all can't tell, I'm like super excited. But so we're about 3 people in. I'll give it until the next 2 or 3 minutes before I bring LaDawn in. But again, if you all are able to just kind of let your friends and fellow creatives know that we're here and we want to get started soon, that'll be very helpful. So we want to get to about 6 consistent viewers. So those that are still that are still watching, please stay. So yeah, story time. This week was pretty cool. Just another typical work week. Again, I went to New York. I was there literally for less than 24 hours. What's going on, Ben? And for those that are interested in getting into the video production industry, corporate video is really the way to go. I make good money doing, the typical run of the mill productions. And there, oh shoot, yeah, I got an alert from Instagram talking about my poor connection. I got A1 Wi-Fi here. I got Verizon, baby. I don't know what they talking about, but yeah, we're at 6. But yeah, so just to kind of wrap up my point, yeah, corporate video is the way to go. Again, if you're trying to get into the freelance industry, just make a quick buck or two. Corporate video is the way to go, but that's a topic for another day, because today we're talking to LaDawn about film. We're talking about documentaries. So I'm excited. So let's bring LaDawn in. All right, so let me see. I think I just invited her. Let me go. Oh, there we go. There we go. Yo, yo, yo.
Crazy, I ain't never went live before.
Oh, you never went live before?
I think it's not my thing at all.
Oh, man. Well, it's just like FaceTime with an audience. That's pretty much it.
Hear me with these headphones?
Yeah, let me actually turn up my volume. Is my music in the back too loud? Actually, let me just turn this down. Yeah, let me turn this.
Nah. I can't hear it anymore.
Okay. Word. So what's going on? We got LaDawn Manuel in the house. So I saw on Instagram, are you back in Ohio right now?
Yeah. I'm in Cleveland right now.
Oh, word.
Just till Monday. I gotta do some family things. Then I go back to DC on Monday to start this 2-week project. So.
Oh shit, that's lit. So do you
Yeah.
typically drive out there or do you fly?
A little bit of both. I drove this time because I usually bring my dog.
Okay.
Every once in a while I fly. I was gonna fly this time too, but I just got back from Vegas and I was just like, I don't feel like dealing with the airport, so I just went on ahead and drove.
I did see that you were at the Adobe Summit, right? That's what it's called.
Yeah. I was doing some work out there. It was pretty dope.
Where? How was that? How was that
Uh,
experience?
It's pretty good. So I was doing it with this production company based out of Utah, Team 13. They're super great. I like working with them. But they brought me in to do NAB with them last year.
Oh,
Shoot some
okay.
things for Adobe when they were launching that Frame IO. So this time we were at the summit, and we had a room and we were doing some 2 different styles of interviews. I had 2 different sets. It was pretty dope. I got to be a little bit more creative with this one.
Okay.
And we shot 9x16.
Okay.
So that's
Oh
yeah,
wow. Very cool.
yeah. So we had we used some Sony cams to do it or whatever. So the creative director, directors for it, the director, and as well as the set deck, this A1 job.
Yeah, it
job.
looked good. It looked good. Like I definitely enjoyed the set deck. I know that you all, utilized like creative lighting. It was really funky. I really loved it. But
Thank you. What's
yeah.
up, Damien?
Yeah, we got a lot of folks showing love. Definitely appreciate. Wait, somebody said can't hear though.
Can hear. Ooh,
Is it what can't you hear? You can't hear me or LaDawn or both. Well, I guess they can't tell.
But I took my headphones out. Sometimes mine bug out, so they should be able to hear me now.
Word. But you can hear me though, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, obviously, yeah. But let's get right into it. Again, this is LaDawn Manuel, DP extraordinaire. By way of I hope I'm saying this right. By way of Cleveland, right? I guess yeah, by way of Cleveland. And today's episode is called Real Talk, a DP's path to self-discovery. So let's get right into it. So you and I, we met officially early this year on set, working with a project, a very special project that I'm sure is near and dear to both of us. It was on maternal health. Was co-directed by Kanika Harris, who, is a mother of 3 beautiful children. And the documentary focuses on, again, maternal health and the struggles that Black women face when it comes to maternal health and all of that. And it was a great production. We had Kirby Griffin involved. He was our director of photography. He's based up in Baltimore, killing it. If you all haven't seen The Unveiling of God, please check that out.
We also have LaTanya Joyce, who is a producer for 6 Point Pictures. If you all are based in the DMV area, I'm sure you all know about 6 Point. And also Stephanie Etienne, who is the wife of Bradford Young, right? And it's a project that Bradford Young actually produced. So again, that was an amazing project where LaDawn and I were able to work together on. LaDawn was a AC. You know, we also I worked as a cam op, and I got to actually see LaDawn in action. And LaDawn is super thorough when it comes to film, like on it, completely on it. And also I had the honor of, well, I had the honor of, well, not honor, but it was an honor to have LaDawn also work on a short film that I did called Flame, which is currently in post production. LaDawn actually was an extra, surprisingly. As prestigious as she is when it comes to her film credit, she decided that she wanted to be an extra, and that kind of blew my mind because I was like, whoa, like LaDawn, like, you sure you want to be an extra? Like, okay, that's cool. But LaDawn killed it. LaDawn ended up kind of stepping in, helping out as a I guess like a second AD, right? Would you say? Yeah, and she helped us choreograph one of our intro shots for the short film, and she was killing it. She even was able to assist me as a DP and kind of like she taught me what a French over was. I didn't know what a French over was, and so LaDawn, is well versed, well experienced when it comes to film. And again, as I mentioned at the start of this, I admire everything that she does. Like I hope I don't sound like a creep, but I've definitely been peeping your work for the past year now, and I'm like, dang, hopefully one day I get to work with her, and then boom, we're on set, like just kind of sporadically. But yeah, so that's LaDawn. I know we're gonna get into a lot of her story, but I kind of wanted to touch on an article that I read from Shout Out LA, which is a phenomenal article that was written on LaDawn. And LaDawn, just to quote you, you said, let me see if I can find a quote. You said, "My work is about self-discovery, intimacy, and vulnerability. I run full force to and from these subjects in life, and I believe my subjects do the same," end quote. Kind of touch on that.
Yeah, that's kind of just, I don't really know how to expand more on that. Like, I just, yeah, like as far as my work, it's, when it comes to photography, a lot of my work is self-portraits. So I have a lot of influence from Nan Golden, Larry Clark, Robert Mapplethorpe. Those were like my first influences when it came to photography. So when I was figuring out who I was as an artist or trying to figure things out, I was like 17, already in college, like doing a lot of crazy things. So I was taking stills, and that's what I was in school for. But so those are the artists I kind of gravitated to, like Sally Mann, things like that. So as far as self-discovery, I used photography as a tool to figure out who I was, how to say the things that I couldn't say. If I had a bad day mentally, I could pick up a camera. If I didn't have the energy necessarily to go to class or to get out of bed, I still found a way to get out of bed to make work. So the camera, in a lot of ways, when I was younger, in my early 20s and late teens, helped me figure out. It just kind of helped me how to breathe. If that makes any sense. It kind of gave me an outlet, like between like poetry. I had a lot of craziness going on in my life at that time. So self-discovery, as far as that, vulnerability in a sense, because a lot of the photographs I like to take, the subjects are nude. I've shot a lot of intimate scenes as far as my narrative, and I don't mean intimate sexually, because I've done those too. But intimacy is way more than just physicality, right? It's intimacy between a friendship, intimacy within relationships, familiar intimacy, things of that sense. I gravitate towards those subject matters because I feel like we shy away from them. We try to cover them up in a sense. We want the world to see our personas, and we might not think we have one, but we do. Like, what I'm saying? Like, I can be like, oh yeah, I don't really have a persona. I'm me. Okay, well, do you see the me at home? Like, what I'm saying? Like, we want to be perceived in a way. I feel like when I was growing up, and a lot of things, the way I used to treat vulnerability was as if it was this negative thing. But to be vulnerable is to be powerful, and to show that in your work is powerful. And the reason why I take a lot of my stills in the nude is because when you are nude, there's nowhere for you to hide. You don't have an ounce of clothing on. You might have on makeup, you might not, but you don't usually, typically, if you're nude, your face is washed, you know what I'm saying? So you don't have an ounce of makeup on, there's you go. If you are seeing that photo, if you're uncomfortable, it's going to come across. If you're in some type of angst or pain, it's going to come across. If you joyful, you know what I'm saying, in that moment, it's going to come across. If you are in that photo with another subject and one of you is uncomfortable, it's going to show. And I started to realize that, I think, in one of the very, very first photos I took, was of me and this young woman I dated in 2012. And we were in the nude, but it was chest up, but you can kind of see the things like it kind of stopped here. However, she was behind me. So my classmates in our critique, that was one photo, and I was kind of shooting her in a sense, and I didn't really take the photo as if I was shooting her. It took me later to realize that. But another photo, she was just kind of there, and her arms are kind of crossed, and she's kind of more shielded. And it took my classmates to be like, hey, she's so uncomfortable in this photo here, but when you display it again with you in front, she's so much more relaxed. Like, there's no lines in her eyebrows. Like, her eyes are softer. Things of that nature. So I believe that, you can't hide from the camera in that state.
That's amazing that you mentioned that, because I remember even when we worked on Flame together, you told me that you wanted to be an extra because you wanted to know how it feels to be a subject. Like, you want to know how it feels to have I think you mentioned like a 35 millimeter in your face as an actor. So I noticed that you definitely do the work when it comes to like kind of stepping into the shoes of your subjects, and you put a lot of emphasis in that. So to kind of shift gears a little bit, because again, you're talking a lot about vulnerability. We definitely live in a world where I would say now things have been more open, especially, when it comes to artists. But it was a point in time where you couldn't be vulnerable, like you were laughed at. I could speak for myself growing up in Washington, D.C. Like, there, toxic masculinity. It was a lot of things that, for me, I'm an empath. I would say that I'm really in touch with my senses and my emotions, and I often felt like a black sheep when it came to like self-expression or to want to, let people know how I felt intrinsically.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of paint that picture for me, because again, you are from Cleveland, Ohio. You went to college in Cleveland. So you said you went to school, you went to undergrad in photography, right? To study photography. Yeah. So what was that transition from being a photographer, being a painter, doing, working with like still images to now working in film work? Like, when did that transition happen for you?
It all happened at the same time, truly. I did it all in undergrad. So I went to Ohio University. And when I was there, it was when I was studying photography, but the way it's different now. But when I was there, we were still on quarters and not semesters, and like you had to take 2 years of foundational courses before you could actually apply to the medium that you want to work in. In doing that, I've always been able to draw, so I always knew I was kind of going to go to art school and be in art school or whatever. So drawing led me to painting, painting led me to photography. I just kind of wanted a more visceral experience, so photography got me to film. So I think it was in my first year when I was just like, yeah, I'm going to do film too, like, because I like stills, but film allowed me to experiment a bit more and do a little bit more. So the two to me have always kind of gone hand in hand in a sense. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, and I've always kind of just film as like escape point, things like that. Like I was a kid, I wasn't really watching a lot of cartoons. I was like watching movies and stuff like that. Like
amazing.
I can't tell you what no Disney princess movie. Yeah.
No Princess and the Frog, none of that, huh?
I don't know.
So now you primarily work as a director of photography. Kind of unpack that. Tell me exactly what a director of photography is, and how do they contribute? How do directors of photography contribute to the overall like aesthetic of a film?
I mean, honestly, it's a lot of things in one. It's a lot of jobs in one person. Overall, on set, my job is to manage people.
For sure.
I have to make sure that my camera team's getting the proper shots. I have to make sure the lighting's right. You know what I'm saying? I have to make sure the director's vision, the script shines through in that. And when you have a camera team, if you have a budget your camera team, it's not small. If you got, you know what I'm saying, you can have an A and B camera, you can have a first AC for both of those cameras, then you can have 1 or 2 seconds, and then you might camera PA. If you got a jib on set that day, you got a jib up too. If you got a steady, then you got a steady as well. So the camera team can get very, very big, or it could also be as small as 3 people. So it's a lot of, matching different personalities. Thankfully, I've met a lot of people, and I've been doing it long enough that I kind of know. I know who works well together, who might not work well together, things like that. I've worked with people who I've never met before, and we've clicked immediately, and people have gone together for years. Kind of just it's about being a people person.
Word.
And you can't be a DP and be like super duper, like you can be introverted, but you can't really be like shelled, because voice has to be used in more than a creator on set.
Right. And kind of touch more on that, because what I'm hearing is definitely like as you said, delegation. You have to be a people person. You have to be a leader. Would you say that did you naturally have these characteristics, or do you feel like those are things that you have to learn like later in your life?
I mean, I don't really know, but I can't say I have it, but I mean, like, I don't know. I've always adapted in any situation. Like, we moved out of Cleveland for 8th grade. So to be in Cleveland all your life and all you know is Cleveland, like not even no other state for real, like, and then to move somewhere completely different, it's just like, right where you pretty much about to be at high school. It's just like, this is it wasn't really uncomfortable. I remember being very upset about it, but like I've always been able to adapt. And I've always done sports. So when you do sports, there's always a type of leadership in sports. You got to follow the coach. Right. If you varsity, then you got the junior varsity looking up to you, or things like that, or you looking up to them. So leadership is very heavy in sports, and I've done it all. I've done basketball, track, softball, rugby.
Okay, All-American.
I've taught adjunct. So it's like, in doing that, you have to, those skills have helped me definitely on set. I didn't acquire them all at once, but I mean, it's kind of just like a foundation. So I'd probably say sports and things like that kind of started it, I guess.
Okay, I guess I'll speak from the alternative standpoint. Even though I'm like 6'3", I am not athletically inclined. So growing up, I did not play sports. I went to art school. I went to Duke Ellington. For those that know the DC area, I was very into drawing myself and art at a young age, music production. But when it came to the basketball court, football, like, I sucked. So I definitely, believe it or not, right? So I've naturally been a recluse. Like, even like as I mentioned in my previous like IG lives, like doing this is like completely out of my comfort zone. And even like to the point that you mentioned, as a DP, like being able to like be a people person to a degree, like that only comes out on set. Like any other time I'm introverted, I'm chilling with my friends, my family in a very small bubble. But I don't know, it's just something about art where it just kind of makes me come out and become this person. So for those,
it makes you shine.
For sure. So for those that are watching who are more on the introverted side, like, do not worry. Like, always kind of find that thing that like LaDawn said, that makes you shine. That there's room for everybody. There's space for everybody, no matter how you show up. But
I'm definitely very much a fake extrovert. Like, if you just like your first time around me and it's like, I don't say a work setting, but like a setting that's not like a friendship or a bar, or, you know what I'm saying, something that's community based, I'm kind of going to be quiet and feel the scene out and like talk to the people. You know what I'm saying? And like, I'm going to ease my way into it. Like, you
want to also feel safe. Like, for me, like,
you got to feel safe for sure. Especially on set. Being on set is, you have to feel safe. You have to have a safe set, because there's so many different voices. There's so many different personalities. There's so many different age groups. I work with people who've been in the industry for 40 years. I work with people who've been in the industry for one day. You know what I'm saying? I've been doing it full time since 2017. Like, on one hand, it seems like forever. On another hand, it still feels like year one to me.
For
So
real.
it's ever changing. So you definitely, you can be introverted. Like, you know what I'm saying? You don't have to be like this big extreme. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? You have to talk to people. You can't make a film alone. That's like the one thing when I was like teaching my students and stuff like that. Like day one, everybody in college hates group projects. Absolutely
Exactly.
not. Everybody count off 1 through 4, and whoever your numbers is, go link up with them because
Right.
you can't make a film alone. You need people. You can't even live alone. You need
You
community.
need
You need
people.
people.
And
You
that's
can't live alone if you can't survive without community. You know what I'm saying? How you think you're gonna make a film alone?
exactly. And
Like,
that's actually something I want to just quickly expound upon real quick, LaDawn. So I went to Delaware State. You know, I love my alma mater. I actually was there 2 weeks ago. I got some folks that actually I met at my presentation that are that are watching currently. But I would say my experience at Del State really caused me to be a recluse because I don't know what it is, but like it's just like that competitive energy that comes from maybe attending the HBCU. Because again, for those that know my story, I didn't go to film school. I went to school for video production. So like I swear, like I don't know what they were teaching us to be like straight killers, straight shooters. Like you got to be the best. So like I didn't necessarily have an opportunity in college to collaborate. And even as you mentioned, like when it came to group projects, like I've naturally been the one that would love to like share the wealth and work with people, but I was often met with resistance. And after being met with so much resistance, I kind of was jaded by the experience of collaborating. So now as a 26-year-old, 5 years out of college, like I've struggled working in collaborative settings, working on films because I naturally want to,
mhm.
again, collaborate. But and I'll just end it with this. So like I actually met my soulmate, creatively. His name is Eric Wright Jr. We actually met at Dell State my last semester of our senior year. And like we both were on the same wavelength. We had similar like met with resistance when it came to like other established videographers on campus. So when we met each other, it's like me and your long lost like brother. I'm like, yo, like you're just like
Yeah,
me. And
yeah.
and for like the past 5 years, we've been working together on video productions. He's more on the creative direction side. I'm more on the EP, DP side. But we've been able to have this marriage creatively. So like with that being said, have you met any collaborators? I know you work a lot with Eddie Musa. Shout out to Eddie Musa. But do you have any like creative, I would say, soulmates that you like to work with or kind of bond with, or do you just naturally gravitate to people that kind of speak your language?
Um, yeah, so I feel like natural connections just happen. Like people who are supposed to be in your life are absolutely going to be in your life. Like I don't know if you've heard it, but I always tell the story of how me and Musa met. Musa is a great, great director. He's from DC, living in Atlanta right now. He travel all around. What's up, Leon, my guy?
What's up, Leon?
But yes, so I met Musa on set for a Shy Glizzy video. Back when I was.
So, yeah. So for those that don't know who Shy Glizzy is, could you give a quick?
He a rapper. He from DC. I won't call him a local rapper because he got some big songs. Like he known around the US. You know what I'm saying? But it was like back in, I think it was during COVID actually, or right either 21 or in 20 when we had already started filming again. I think it was like September 2020, like that. But we met on set. I was ACing him and Torres. They were in the Genie department, and I think I just needed a stand for the monitor or something like that. And I was building the cams, and then we had a 35 mil on cam, not 35 mil, a 6 mil format camera on set too. So putting on the cams and summer, so I'm in shorts, like a
Yeah.
tank top or whatever. So I'm gonna get the stand, and they're like, yeah, I like your tattoos. I'm like, okay, thanks. But like I got tattoos all over. Somebody cameras, and then like they come over to me and they like asking me a bunch of camera questions. So I'm still answering them. I'm still working and it's cool. But they were like, how we ended up like talking like back about tattoos, and so it's like again, like when I don't know people, like the person I who did know on the set wasn't there yet. So I'm kind of you filling them out. It's said it's a good day. You saying hi, whatever. But I was still like you trying to all right, let me work. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if we about to be late, but we're not gonna be waiting on camera. You know what I'm saying? Never waiting on camera. So we talking. It's like, yeah, I can talk. You know what I'm saying? But it was like, all right, but like, what y'all at a certain point, what y'all want? Like, but they wouldn't leave me alone, and I'm glad that they wouldn't leave me alone.
Right.
Because my favorite people to work with now. I think Eddie asked me out for a lunch after that, and we got lunch, and he was like, "Hey, I got this. All right, then it's commercial. Like, we need an AC." I'm like, "Okay, cool." And he's like, "When is it?" He's like, "Tomorrow." And I was like, "Bro, we're sitting in crap. Like, where are you getting the camera from?" And he's just like, "Oh, he getting it from Cap Cam." I was like, "All right, the one in DC." He was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Well, who's picking it up?" He's like, "We'll get it delivered." And I was just like, "So nobody prepping camera?" I was like, "All right, I'm gonna go prep camera." Like, that's why I like
Oh
left
wow.
go prep camera, because at the time Cap Cam was only 15 minutes from my house anyway. So I was just like, "All right, I'm gonna prep camera." And then from that, I was working on this feature, this Lifetime feature. I was cam mopping that in November of 2020, and we needed a new second. So like I just called Eddie. I was just like, "Hey, this is the rate. It's crazy low. Hans Charles is the DP. Come." I don't even know if Eddie knew who Hans was at that point yet, but it was just like, "Hans is DP. Like,
Right.
we need you tomorrow." And
Right.
so ever since then, like, we just been working together. So we've done a music video together. I've had him AC for me. I've had him op for me. He directed the last short that I shot. He wrote the story too. So that's on the being submitted to festivals now. We just finished. Well, we just finished post. So we had a couple screenings. They had an Atlanta screening, a DC screening,
Right.
online screening, and it's on the festival circuit right now, whatever. So yeah, me and Musa, that's my guy. I work with Hans a lot. I love Hans. Hans has taught me so much. I met Hans through Howard, through grad school. Hans has taught me a ton. Bradford Young has taught me a ton. That's my guy too. Damien's on here. That's
Right.
my Howard.
Right.
He knows Hans and Brad, and it's like one big, like, cohort. And like, honestly, those three right there have taught me so much
Mm-hmm.
as far as seeing them work, and how to something as simple as make a shot list. Something as simple as, okay, I showed up, we got to shoot this, and there's no shot list, and I don't know how I want to shoot it. Like, how to navigate those, lighting, all those things.
Mm-hmm.
Got bad lighting, your shots can be your frames could be so like crazy beautiful frames, but if your lighting bad, that frame
Talk about it. I see we got.
like,
I saw Leon. I saw Leon was in the. Is in the. He's watching. So speaking of lighting,
they go,
so he knows exactly what we're talking about.
yeah,
But
but they could build. Earlier you were saying making that safe space. Those
yeah.
guys space for me. They created a space for me to ask questions, for me to show them my work, and hey, what can I do better? Or not even what can I do better, but just like, what's your opinion? You know what I'm saying? So having that safe space, and having that community, and having those people who've been doing it longer than you, because you can figure it out with somebody who up and coming with you, but when you got a mentor, or more than one mentor, you know what I'm saying, somebody you can ask questions when things get difficult, like, it just helps so much. Like, even when it comes to stuff, not even like creativity, I'm talking like something as simple as knowing how much to charge for a meal penalty, to get a meal penalty, things like that. So yeah, the U community is very, very, very important. So I got companies that I work with a lot. So like the Team 13 company I mentioned, and there's another Utah-based company, Camp 4. I really like those guys. I've never that and didn't grow from it, working with them. And I don't mean like when you be like, "Oh, you can always learn something from a good or a bad set." Like, I mean, like, no, there is no bad sets with them, and everything I learn is something positive, to hone in on my skills even more.
For sure. I definitely appreciate that account, and just kind of, again, touching on the importance of community and mentorship. I definitely advocate for folks to find a mentor, as LaDawn said, something as simple as asking about a rate and how to navigate certain situations. So I think we might need a part two, LaDawn, because we got about 26 minutes left, and I definitely have only asked 3 of my questions out of 7. But
what's up, Timmy, my guy? Timmy's the GOAT. Listen.
yeah,
Y'all in the chat. Yeah, that's the DP guy right there for the show.
for sure, for sure. But just to shift gears. So not only do you do narrative work, you also work on documentaries.
Yeah.
So how do you balance doing such working with fiction and then nonfiction, when it comes to film work? And how do you make sure that you give each of those art forms the attention that it deserves?
It's really just on a project by project base. Um, Truthfully, DC is an interesting area. So like, you know, it's a lot of doc work here, but there is still a good amount of narrative work here as well. There's a shit ton of corporate stuff, but that's honestly not really my world. I do like one or two corporate shoots a year, and then the rest is split between doc, narrative, and commercial. And I think each medium offers you something different. So when I was first freelancing and getting into the industry, coming in from the more narrative background and then doing docs, it wasn't that big of a jump because in taking self-portraits and things like that, you know what I'm saying? It stills, but it still translates to a doc format in a sense, as far as kind of like how you go about some of the lighting, if you kind of, you know, I don't know, as far as storytelling in a sense. So I don't know, doc work, I won't say it's easy, but it was easy for me to grasp because honestly, if you can do narrative, you can do anything.
That's
Like,
fair. Yeah, that's true.
like if you can do narrative, you can do doc, you can do commercial, you can do anything, honestly.
For
Um,
sure.
so yeah, I docs are great. As far as balancing them, it used to be about like 50-50. Now I'm trying to do docs a little less. And it's not because I don't want to do them more, but I want to go back to making sure that the docs that I work on are about stories that I truly believe in and issues that I truly believe in, and not just saying yes to the gig because they've reached out and they're in DC for 3 to 5 days, or you know, etc. Like I'm at a point in my career where I don't just need a check. I want to make sure that I in some way care about the things I'm doing, whether it's the crew, the story, the talent behind it. You know what I'm saying? I want to make sure I really believe in it, because you can be on so many sets, it gets to a point where like my friends, I'll go to yoga and they're like, oh, what you work on this week? And I'm like, bro, I don't even know.
Hmm.
And
And
that's not a good feeling. You're in a state like that, you don't feel creative. You start to feel stagnant. You start to question a lot of things. So it's gonna happen, regardless. So it's kind of just okay. Well, when that happens, you kind of ask, like, what's next, or what can I be doing more of? How can I get back to the film and not just the work, if that makes sense? You know what I'm
for
saying?
sure.
So it's from each job to job to job. It's more so okay. Yeah, like I'm doing these jobs, but also, am I going film screenings? Am I going to local film meetups? Am I am I going to screenings? Am I going to film festivals? You know, we're not inside the house anymore. You can go to film festivals. Even if you can't go, they're offered online now. You can still get that content.
Hmm.
You know, and doing things like this, just how
Hmm.
do you immerse yourself into it without going from job to job to job? Because you can still say jobs to not be tired, but you can still be burnt out if you're not doing anything in between. So that's kind of how I use photography and painting, but it's very much a love-hate relationship with those things, because when I start doing them and then I post them, everyone's like, oh yeah, like painter, I forgot, or can you paint me this, can you commission this, or like can you paint me this but smaller? And it's just like, no. Or you should sell,
Yeah,
can you sell prints of this? And it's like, nah, because now this thing that I'm using to escape is starting to feel like the one thing I'm trying to escape, a job. You know, if that,
exactly.
so then it takes the love out of it, and then I won't pay for like 2 years.
And that's amazing. That's actually like a great transition, like almost like a seamless transition into my next question, which is about work-life balance. So you mentioned yoga, and that was something that I noticed on your Instagram as well, that you are you're avid at doing yoga and just really practicing like mindfulness. And even when I was like kind of going through my stuff and just kind of venting on social media, you were able to provide some sound advice and just kind of ways to combat burnout. So with that being said, I know you mentioned yoga. How do you deal with I'm just looking at my question so I can say it as I wrote it. How do you maintain a healthy work-life balance while pursuing your passion in filmmaking?
It's ever changing. I used to go to the gym a lot, coming from like playing rugby and things like that. Like I can just wake up at 6 a.m., go lift. I used to write a lot of poetry. I paint sometimes. Sometimes I take stills. And very recently, yoga. I've always kind of gone in and out of this state of like, I'm really avid at meditating, and then I'll like fall off for a while and I'll get back to it. But ever since I've been doing yoga, I'm way more consistent at meditating. But I started meditating like last June, so it hasn't even been a full year. And I started actually doing that just for my physical health, because I was okay. Well, if I'm not going to the chiropractor twice a week anymore, how can I still take care of my body outside of just like getting massages and things like that? So I found yoga. Go to the Floating Yogi if you're in DC. So on off H Street. And I practice. It's called Ashtanga. So it's a primary. It's a sequence. I practice 4 to 7 times a week. It just truly depends. But in that practice, it's not just the yoga and stretching. It's the breath work, which translates to me being on set too. And how do you breathe when your hands are operating and things like that? How do you breathe when there's a 40-pound camera here and you're walking, things like that. And then also the meditation. So it just kind of helps me breathe and reset in a sense. Yeah. So that's my balance as far as that. I don't necessarily need it to escape, but I do notice on the morning, if I don't wake up and do yoga and I go to set and it's a rough day on set, I notice it in my attitude. Or if it's like, it's you in the middle of like a, I don't know, a 20-day shoot, and it's like, all right, I'm tired. I'm waking up tired now. Like, what can I do? So that's when I really, really try to make sure I get that yoga in the morning. If it's only like 5 to 10 minutes or small meditation, because it's just that reset, that alone time. It's like when you're driving the set and you listen to music, right? Like if you got to take the, or when you get to set or when you get to base camp, and you got to take the shuttle to set. You know what I'm saying? When I get to base camp, I'm going to say good morning at first, but I'm not chipper right away. It's not because I'm not in a good mood. It's just like I'm just getting ready for the day. So I'm like, I'm going to say good morning. I'm going to get my tea. I'm going to have my tea or my smoothie. I'm going to put my headphones in, and it's going to either be like some house music or some like Kurt Franklin, or on a good day, it might be like some Key Glock. It just really depends on my mood, but it's just going to be something to just get me up and rowdy and ready. You know what I'm saying? It might be some go-go. It just depends. So it's like you got that. Yeah.
That woosah.
Yeah.
Woosah.
All right, now let's go kill this shit. You know what I'm saying?
Awesome.
Yeah.
So do you ever get homesick? Or do you seem like you go home pretty often to Cleveland?
The older I get, the more homesick I get. When I first moved away, I could come home like once every 6 months and be okay and not care. Then it kind of became like every 4 to 3 months, and I kind of still stick to that. I was here in December. I'm back now. I have to come back in May. It just depends on what family stuff I have going on. Summer 21, I was here all the time. I had so much stuff going on here, a lot of family things. So it just really depends. But with it only being, I think, like a 5.5 hour drive, I do it in like 4:45. It's not a far trip at all. But the older I get, the more I miss home. So I do call a lot.
Awesome.
Things like that. Yeah.
So we're about, I guess, 17, 15 minutes out. I kind of want to take the time to talk about short-term goals and long-term vision that you have as a creative. And it can honestly be holistic. It doesn't have to focus on your creative endeavors. But as a creative entrepreneur, how do you plan to achieve these aspirations in the coming years?
I can't tell you how I'm gonna achieve them, because then, you know what I'm saying, I can't give you the keys to my vision.
Copy that. But what can we start with? What are your visions? Like, do you have any long-term visions as a creative? Like,
all in all, like long term, and I don't know when it's gonna happen. It probably won't. It's already in place and in motion. But like for me, by the way I see, like the way my career is gonna go, like it's 365 days out of a year. For 300 of those days, I'm gonna do whatever I want.
I love that.
Whatever. Like, and whether that is shoot or film, whether that's to learn how to race boats, learn how to fly, whether it's have a family, whether it's work in my garden, yoga, taking trips, whatever it is, I'm going to do that, whatever I want for 300 days out of the year. And 65 of those days are going to be reserved for working.
I love that.
You don't really want to, you don't want me to have 299 free days and have me work 66 days. Because if you haven't worked that 66 day, the rate is going to be crazy. Like the
Yes.
to be the pre-pro. But no, and I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that with my people. I'm gonna do it. I enjoy working with, so that I know the set is a safe place and full of blood. And not only am I gonna do it with my people, I'm going to do it with people who look like me, and I'm gonna make sure to bring in new PAs and new camera people who are up and coming every time, so that they get the chance to grow, so they get that olive branch. The film industry is a very hard industry to break into. Once you got it, you got it. Like, because everybody knows somebody at some point. The industry it's super small. Like, I was on July and the Genie team knew Leon. I was like, oh, for real? Bet. That's great.
That's good.
That's now, amazing. I think a couple years ago, like pre-COVID, we got brunch at Busboys just to talk about film and some stuff like that. I'm still trying to get on set with Blaze whole time. Still definitely trying to hire Blaze for sure. But yeah, things like that. So the film industry is very, very small, and everybody knows everybody at some point, especially the Black filmmaking community. So that's my ultimate dream. So I ain't saying I'm going to be 28 now. I'm not gonna say it's gonna be fully achieved by 35 or things like that. But when it's all said and done, that's what my yearly schedule will look like.
Amazing. That's good. And I think it's important that, well, not only is it important, but it's honorable to hear that you are like taking matters into your own hands. Like, you are creating the boundaries and the structure of your life. I think there's just, like, folks, even myself, I'm still working on that balance. So I think it's, again, very admirable that you are taking the duty to create that structure for your life, or continue to build upon the structure that you have. But yeah, that's great. And then even that's why I created this platform, Jabari Advocates, because again, I'm not a filmmaker by trade. I went to school for TV production. My path was to work for like C-SPAN or CNN. Like, that's what my school was training us to do. But I realized that wasn't my path. Like, maybe junior year, I wanted to learn more about filmmaking. And most importantly, I wanted to learn about the business aspects of filmmaking and video production. So with this platform, Jabari Advocates, the goal is really to empower, support, and promote creatives like yourself, and even those that are looking to get into our industry, and give them, like a front row seat to talk to a LaDawn and talk to a Leon, and talk to, all the great folks in the DMV and beyond that are, again, they look just like us, they can relate. And I just think it's important. And so it's great that you are doing that in your own way. I'm sorry.
I gotta tell our own stories,
Yeah,
so
we gotta.
You can just always tell when a Black story is not written by a Black person. It's just, you know what I'm saying? We gotta tell our own stories.
For sure.
It's just around it. No one's gonna just come to you and hand you a script, and it's gonna be like your dream script, or we're gonna read the script and be like, this script is totally me. It's my story from start to finish, or it's a story that I want to tell, or you know what I'm saying? It has to be authentic to us. The more voices we have, the better. Because then, talk about, people trying to erase our history, but if we are using our voices, no one can erase our history.
For sure. And I think folks should not be ashamed to be Black. Like, I'm on my Issa Rae. Like, I'm rooting for everybody Black. Like, and it doesn't mean that we're anti-white or anti anything else. It's like to LaDawn's point, like, we have to advocate for our voices, and we have to tell our own stories. And to that point, the industry, as we know, is predominantly male, predominantly white male at that. And, me being a black man, I think that it's important for me to be aware that maybe there are more opportunities for people like me than others, and using my platform, not saying that I'm doing it as like a virtue signal, but it's important to use our platforms to give voice, allow everybody to have a voice, and to put everybody on the, on the platform to speak their truth and to tell their story, you know?
That, and also just to help promote us as well. There's so many talented filmmakers I know, and who's gonna promote you and put you on more than the people who you work with and see all the time, and your friends and your community. You know, you mentioned something earlier about your school kind of teaching you you had to be the best, or this super like competitive nature per se. And I don't think necessarily in filmmaking, I don't think there is a such thing as being the best, because everybody has different eyes and everyone sees things differently. Now you can have things that are bad because, you know, the production was bad or it fell apart because the pre-pro wasn't there, so it looked slapped together per se. But when we're talking about just taking images and creating stories, like, you know, I'm saying, it's kind of hard to say that this story is bad, because what does this story mean? You know what I'm saying? Everybody eats. You know what I'm saying? There's room for everybody to tell their story. There's room for everybody to make their film. Honestly,
For sure.
so yeah.
Yeah, and even to that point, even though I guess I would be considered intermediate when it comes to like the filmmaking process, but at least for me, how I kind of view it, and definitely correct me if I'm wrong, like I think film can be used, you know, it has multiple uses. Really, it's just a form of communication, whether, you know, the goal is to inform, to entertain, to educate. And I feel like, you know, as long as a filmmaker is able to fulfill either of those, I guess, options, or like, you know, if the message is received the way that they intended, I think that's success, you know, when it comes to filmmaking.
I
And
think, I think if the message is not seen as is intended, I still think that's success, because art's subjective. You
for
know,
sure.
making this film because it means X, Y, and Z to you, but I can watch that film and get something totally completely different, and the film can still move me, you know, or I can hate it, and that's also my right. But I can hate it because it triggered me in a way, right? Or I could, I don't know, not like that, put it in, which is usually really rarely happens. But you know what I'm saying? So I don't. We have to change the way we view success. But yeah, like,
That's true.
yeah, because it's so many film festivals out here that you might get 20 no's and then 50 yeses, but you might get those 20 no's first.
Right, that's fair.
It's so many. It's so many film festivals dedicated to all types of stories and demographics. I think I saw a film festival where they only want you like to submit the trailers, and that's how they pick the winners, and then they fund you the money to complete the film or something like that. Like,
interesting.
Like writing competitions, like if you ain't got the money to make your short, but you got the script done, okay, submit that script to writing competitions. There's ways to get that money and ways to fund it, things like that. So there's so many different outlets.
Right. So we got about 7 minutes left. One thing that I like to do with these lives is like leading up to the live, I ask the community if they have any questions for you.
Okay.
So we received 2 questions. One is from Ben Sands, who is a production sound mixer. Shout out to Ben. His question was, do you plan on like leaving the DMV? Like, are you leaving the DMV at any point?
Everyone always asks that question, and Ben already knows the answer to that question. So I'm going to pass on that question right now.
Fair. That's fair. And the second question was from Othello. He said, I don't even know if it was a question. I think it was more like a statement. He was like, wave check.
That's my guy.
Yeah, he got show off the waves real quick.
I had a fro yesterday, so I cut it off, but the waves are still here and popping.
Okay, that's what's up. Yeah. So I guess again, so we got about 6 minutes left. I think it's fair to kind of leave us with some gems. If you were to maybe talk to a young LaDawn or just a young filmmaker or documentarian that's looking to get into the industry, like kind of leave them with that profound bit of game, so to speak.
It's not necessarily a bit of game. If you're a student and you're in film school, please go to the tech center. I used to tell my students all the time, like, go check out that equipment. Like, don't just check it out because you got an assignment. Use the tools that you have. Go shoot. Go make work. Like, go freelance while you're in school so that you don't graduate and be like, oh, well, what's next? Like, oh, I didn't see these opportunities, or they didn't give me these. Like, you have all these tools at your disposal. Go use them. Go to rental houses. Even if you can't afford to rent nothing, you can call the rental house and do lens tests and camera tests. Same with the lighting rental houses. You can go learn the lights that are there. So just use your resources, regardless. That, and to give yourself grace. I'm always telling people to give themselves more grace now. And I need to give myself more grace, but the level of grace that you need always changes as you level up or as you move on to each season in your life. So just always just remember to give yourself grace. I find that I'm the hardest on myself. I can like not like something completely because it didn't turn out the way I wanted it to be. And it didn't mean it turned out bad. It just didn't turn out the way that I saw it in my head. So I can just be stuck on that. Whereas everyone else would be like, oh my God, this is amazing. It's because they didn't know what the hell I was thinking of it in my head. They see it on the screen. So it's like, just because it's not necessarily the way you want it doesn't mean it's still not great. So just to give yourself grace a little bit, be less hard on yourself, be accountable, but give yourself some grace.
For sure. I like that. And that's something that I'm even practicing within myself. Not being so hard on myself, not, because it's all a learning process. Like each project that I work on, there's something that I learn. I remember a few weekends ago when I talked to Leon on this platform, and he said that from his mentor, Wes Sullivan, who's a gaffer, G&E, based in the DMV area, and the advice that Wes told Leon was to learn something every day, like learn something on set every day. And my bad, Leon, if I'm butchering the quote, but I think that's kind of what the vibe that Leon was saying. And in the compounds after a while, like being able to learn one bit of information, whether you're starting year 1, year 2, and throughout that time. And I'm sure you can attest to that yourself, LaDawn. I'm sure that not only did you learn a lot in college, but each set that you work on, each production, I'm sure that there's still more to learn, and you have that eagerness to learn from what I've noticed from working with you and just hearing your story, which is so amazing. And I think that quality should be shared into other filmmakers and creatives should, adopt those practices. Like you have to learn, people have to take risks, most importantly. And as we discussed earlier, also while you're doing all of that, practice self-care, work-life balance, because I could speak for myself. Like when I first started, I was just so eager to be everywhere. And, if I saw someone that was working on the film, kind of like how you mentioned Torres and Eddie, where they were just like, yo, like I want to learn, so that's a great practice to have. But, there's balance, one thing that I learned through therapy, when it comes to like, a lot of creatives, they have an energy of desperation and fear and, having that scarcity mindset. So I definitely advise, folks that are, looking to get into our industry, make sure you have those interpersonal skills in check. And then also, do those self check-ins and say like, yo, am I being desperate right now? Like, or, am I operating out of fear? Like you want to, again, like, we talked a lot about those film qualities and film aspects, but like it's really important to have those interpersonal skills in check as we're navigating this creative space. So
It's true.
Again, yeah,
Operating out of desperation when you first get into the industry, it's and you chance on yourself, which in a way that you haven't before. 9 times out of 10, you got to trust yourself. And you also, it's not necessarily even operating out of desperation, it's operating out of survival, because it's like you have this mindset of, if this doesn't work, what am I going to do? But you can't have that mindset, or like, oh, I have to say yes to every single job because I have to meet these people. But whoever you're supposed to meet, you're going to meet them anyway. You know what I'm saying?
for sure.
Your name's already in the room that's supposed to be in, and you're already in that position. So definitely be proactive in the jobs you take, but you don't have to say yes to every single job. Saying no is the easiest thing to do. And the reason why you say no can change.
LaDawn, I don't want to cut you all. There's going to be a part 2.
I got
Instagram Live is about to cut us off. Again, we have LaDawn Manuel, DP, based here in the DMV area. This is Real Talk, the DP's path to self-discovery. And thank you so much, LaDawn. I really, really appreciate you.